MV3 Traders Futures Trade Radio is brought to you by The Ultimate Trader's Guide, your one-stop shop for the most valuable income-producing information on the internet. Go to ultimatetradersguide.net to learn more. Link in the description below. All right, what's going on? What's going on? Hope everybody had a good weekend. Sound check is coming through good, man. So let me make sure let me mute this other mic or my other headphone. All right, so today is technically a holiday, but I was wondering what kind of participation we were going to get today, but no one seems to care about this holiday, which is all good, which is great. Every day the market is open for us to do our thing. That's it's a good day for me. So we just came at our 10 o'clock, the volatility hour that I've been looking at over the last maybe 1 to 2 months or whatever, however long it's been. It's been a while. So it seems like that force that typically comes in there, they took today off, or maybe they're done with that sequence and maybe they moved on, because it was a pretty normal the only real way to say it is there was a pretty normal energy that came in at that time. So that's just my immediate observation off of what I was watching as I was, as the intro was playing and all that stuff. And we've been just mostly transacting inside of the neutral zone for NQ all session. Took a brief peek above the PR+1, and we've just been working orders inside of the neutral zone. So overall, our wholesale has set up shop inside of the neutral zone so far for the session. And this morning I'm probably going to stick more to narrating wholesale. As a good follow-up to the video I released yesterday, where I was, broke down there all the terms that I'm using. Speaking of wholesale, we got a nice clean whole number inventory zone at 11,000 with some volume there, of course, and we're starting to see a inventory response there again. So speaking of inventory, or wholesale, I did have an interesting thought this morning. I'm not even sure how I was triggered into this thought, but it relates to what wholesale does and how they conduct their business for the public to see, or for retail to see. And so I'm gonna go away from that for a minute to explain the idea, because it's more palatable. But somebody bookmark that idea for me, that it's relatable to what wholesale does. All right, just in case I forget it and I go down this journey of expressing this idea. That I think, the only reason I'm sharing it because it was something interesting that just came up to me, as I was going through my morning thoughts and going through my morning session. And I'm gonna try to, say it again the way that I said it in my head earlier this morning. I was in a position to where I couldn't take any notes, going through my morning routines. But anyway, so it's about marketing, right? And then how effective marketing is today. So say, for instance, one that I've seen it a lot, especially dealing with the type of things that I pay attention to as I'm, watching YouTube videos and following certain people on social media, on these different social media platforms, is how well they have become with the marketing, to where you don't even realize that you're being marketed to as they're doing their thing, right? So for instance, let's just give an example. Let's say with these trading strategies, and how you have people that sell trading strategies. So one side of that, and I think this is what triggered it, is I was thinking about the fear of sharing a trading strategy. I don't know how my mind got there, but that's what I was thinking about. And it's kind of irrational in terms of, so the fear around sharing your trading strategy on a public forum is that someone's going to take your idea and they're going to use it against you, whether that's let's just call it the machine, or that's another trader, or another group of traders, right? Some other entity. And they're going to take your strategy and they're going to use it against you, right? Now, think about what that means, though, if that happens. Out of all the people that are trading, that are participating in this environment every single day, for someone or some entity to single you out and to target you specifically, well, that says a lot about you and what you're doing. And then just think about the power dynamic in terms of that. So if you have I'm just going to stick with the word entity here because it's actually the most accurate term that's not used that frequently, but you have an entity that they're just doing what they're doing, that they're just doing what they do normally, right? Just by their natural movement and how they naturally do things. And then you have another entity that's following, and they're basing whatever they do off of what another entity did, right? Now, who holds the true power, in that, between those two ideas there? If I'm doing something, I'm just doing it because I feel like doing it, and it's coming from within me, Well, that means when someone else does something, especially if they copy me, then I actually have power over them. Or if I'm doing something and what I do causes someone else to do something outside of what they would do naturally, then I would have power over them. So if you hold a frequency, if you operate from within that space and you realize that a large entity like what you would see as a mirror within the stock market or within these markets is copying you, that's kind of where you want to be. So you can manipulate, you at the point of manipulation to where you can manipulate it to however you want to manipulate it. Also understanding that manipulate is only a bad word when it's being used for a bad reason or a bad purpose. So going back to the courses, there's another side of this to where when we're talking about marketing, to where people will tell you, well, I got to charge, or you wouldn't take it seriously. Well, again, going back to just staying within your truth. What's going on, Wes? If you receive a message or if you receive some valuable information, your only job really as the sharer of that information is to share that information. What happens beyond, with who you shared it with, that's kind of on them, right? Now you can help them as much as you're capable to, but your job, and when you get some valuable information, if you're really trying to help people, and this is just in my opinion, right, the way that I see things, it's not really your concern if people take it seriously or not. If you are true in your intent and you got and the information is truly as valuable as you believe it is, then where it goes from after you shared it is kind of on the receiving side of that exchange, right? So then that takes us back to, well, if I didn't charge you for it, you wouldn't take it seriously. Now, where's the true intent there? Now, of course, this is just an observation. It's not really judgmental. I'm just making an observation, and it is what it is, right? But that is also and going back to, let me bring this full circle, tie this back together to what I originally started talking about, is with marketing, how that whole concept is used as a marketing tactic, sort of guilt marketing, to get you to make it more likely that a potential client will purchase the course or the project or whatever it is that you're trying to sell, right? And that so that's just one idea, but that happens a lot. And coming back to the market and how wholesale does what they do, so it just gave me a good example here, where how we saw the selling come in, we had the buying right here. This is around 10:04, and then we took out all of that with, I don't know, well, the momentum to me that I'm looking at this is 50-50 kind of, but we made it back to supply quicker than we made it back to inventory. But then we made that break. We took the break below 990 to where we had to where they were picking up inventory before, which of course, in the marketing sense, that's going to, the way that played out, that's going to trigger some people to take the short on the break, right? Now, wholesale can use that to pick up inventory at lower prices. And also that's going to, anybody that tries to cut their losses quickly, remember I talked about that last week, that's going to create stops here. And so that's giving them, they're marketing the movement of price in a way that's helping them conduct their business. So what's the point of saying all of this? Well, really is to, from within, being honest with yourself. When you're watching something and you're perceiving whatever it is that you're looking at, right, as something that's external to you, you always kind of have to ask yourself, well, how am I being marketed to in this situation, to kind of get to the truth of whatever it is that you're looking at. So as we can see, as our wholesaler marketed to trigger those shorts, we're coming back to 990 and picking up inventory again at 990. So we're bringing our interest back down to 990, and we're still picking up an inventory response there. Got some supply automation around our hold number of 11,000. And we've just set up shop here temporarily. In those two areas that I just pointed out. Now, I was thinking about, trading again. Before I got triggered into that thought, I had to release that thought. I was thinking about trading some more, but I'm at the end of my window now. And my execution this morning, so my session this morning went, from an execution standpoint, it went well. From a P&L standpoint, it wasn't so great, as good as I would have liked it to be. So, but that doesn't even matter, right? Because I'm not here just about the P&L. My main focus, I stopped worrying about the P&L a long time ago and just let it be what it is. And my main focus was my execution. And in that's when, I started to get the results that I was finally looking to see, focusing more on my execution than the results of that execution. And sometimes just, most of us, we're in here really to make money. All of us are in here to make money. So it can be going through that process of working on your execution without concern about the P&L can be tough at times. Because it will seem like, now to the naked eye, it will seem like that it's not working or you're not making any progress because the P&L is just not looking good, right? But if you zoom out, I'm always about zooming out. If you zoom out and look at the big picture and you recognize where you started versus where you are, just taking all things into consideration, your emotions, your discipline, your consistency, the things that are going to make you successful over the long term, regardless of what the P&L says right now. That's where you really judge how much progress are you making with what you're doing right now. So we had an inventory lift right above, where we're above our whole number of 11,000 at 11.5, and we're still making higher highs. We're taking the ladder right now. Teasing coming back inside of that previous shop, the temporary shop, but overall we're inside of the main shop of the session. Broke back down. We lifted supply, and we briefly, as I was about to express what was going on there, we briefly picked up some inventory inside of our previous shop, and now we're going back to our previous supply, which could be seen as new inventory, even though it's not. I wouldn't necessarily call it an inventory zone yet. More so that we marked up the inventory zone but you know, that's just not even something that I would give a whole lot of attention to yet, just because of the way that this is the price action that we're looking at right now. All right, we're making our way back to our inventory zone of 1110. We see how we briefly took the ladder there, and that triggered a reversal. Now another scenario in that, or another potential in there, is that we trigger some more longs, we trigger some more buying, which created some stops for us to pick up some more inventory. And you know, this is kind of what wholesale does when they're in this, we're in this budgeting phase, where we're just, you know, working whatever orders that are on the books. The best way that, and when I say we, of course I mean wholesale, right? The best way that's going to help us reach our objective for today. And another thought that comes to mind, a lot of times people will call this kind of price action untradeable. Of course, that's always a matter of perspective. That's going to be relative to what you consider to be tradable. And from my perspective, this is extremely tradable. There's a lot of opportunities by way of what I do, you know, how I participate in this environment. As long as price is moving, just, you know, the quote unquote reality of it all is there's always an opportunity as long as price is moving. It's only not an opportunity when the market is closed. Oh, 06 is I like that location. We're still taking a ladder, so we may make our way back down to the inventory zone around I would say between 1110 and 11.5. Picked up some inventory at 1120. Slightly raised supply, and we're still taking the ladder. So I'm just gonna observe from this point. It's not really, I'm not gonna, if I try to narrate this, I'm gonna sound like an auctioneer. And let's just see how this plays out. Is it auctioneer or is it auctioneer? Whatever. Another observation that's kind of interesting. We haven't revisited our automation in a while. We've been front running automation, but I'm looking at automation at 1120 now. as we continue to stay on the ladder. We also picked up inventory there before, briefly at 1120, between where price is now and 1120. That front running of automation to me suggests there is a force out of the trade. If I'm right, our next rotation should be strong. Down move back to inventory or break of inventory. Let's see. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So we did make it back to automation through our sequence of sequence of marking up inventory. We're picking up some momentum. Main inventory I'm looking at is that 1110 to 11.5 area that I mentioned earlier. We're catching some front run of that briefly. Tapping 1110. The way that they're printing this, they could be marketing this for a squeeze, or they could be picking up inventory. I think I'm gonna add that to my wholesale terminology, my wholesale dictionary. So we got a nice inventory lift off of 1110. In my opinion, very mechanically. I'm back checking your channel again, trying to gain insight on how you move. So you have a point of control from Friday. I mean, as a point of, you're talking about like a technical indication or indicator point of control. Yeah, so we bought inventory strongly off of that range. Really, the range was between 1120 and 1110. We were picking up inventory before, and now we're taking the elevator. Yeah, that's what I'm. We're on the same page. I got you. Back at MSRP, we briefly signal an inventory point at MSRP. Marked up the supply to our PR high around 1168. Now we just set an inventory zone above 1140. You missed it, but I missed the bus a lot. Just gotta wait for the next one to come through. And I'm gonna take this time to grab record some of my numbers. Doing a volume check. We've only transacted an additional about 100,000. Actually, not even that much. Well, no, yeah, about that much. It's about 100,000 additional to my pre-market volume check. So that's a pretty light, and we saw it in the price action. That's a pretty light open session, or the first hour of the open. So that's definitely a force that is not, that we've seen recently during this hour that wasn't present today. So it's just wholesale and everybody else, which would, be the reason why they're moving price around the way that they are. Markdown inventory back to PR 50. Got a little shop set up here between that inventory zone and about 1145, coming back to supply. Now we have automation at supply. Also keeping in mind our bigger shop is inside of the neutral zone. It's sort of just conducting business inside of a mall. Do some more of my back office stuff. I want to see where this goes. I'm just, hanging out. Got some time today. Give it a few more minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and mark off all my triggers for today. All right, from a 1 minute perspective, so that area where I was thinking about taking a trade in before I went on my little spiel, that was a nice little setup. In hindsight, of course, around. Well, I got the trigger at 10:15, right at the end of my window. Of my trade taking window. I got a lot of triggers today. And of course, these triggers, the screenshot, I take a screenshot of these triggers and I post them in the Discord. So if you ever want to see what I'm looking at as triggers, and it's going to be based off, you know, what I mentioned in the summer school course that I dropped on YouTube. Yeah, this summer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Same thing. That's an interesting point you bring up about you can see it because it's a mirror. So it reminds me of the clip that I brought out that I shared from one of Seven's uploads, to where he was talking about if you think about an actual mirror, right? If you can see someone in that mirror, they can see you. So this whole environment is the same exact way. If they can see you, you can also see them. And then from there you can decide, do you want to go over and speak to this person that you can see? Do you want to pretend like you don't see them? And you get to decide where you want to go with from there. So the only part I was going to add to that, so that goes back to the marketing, and this is how they use that understanding. They understand all of this, right? The proverbial theta that we're talking about, or the game maker, right? They understand all of this, so they use that in terms of their marketing strategy to do what they got to do. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Oh, that's that's a really powerful analogy. Man. All right, so what did our wholesaler do? You already, pretty much you gave a good explanation on what happened there. But just with the, kind of, I was hanging around to see what happened, what was going to happen from there. And I saw it, so I can go ahead and, close my session out for the day. But we saw that we had that area that I mentioned before, that 10:05 to 10, or that 11:10 to 10:05, pretty much inventory range that I was looking at as a key point. And then we brought price below that. And then we set up shop right kind of at the lows of that level, or inside of that range. Actually, we set up shop there before our next move to find the value or another shop at these lower prices below, outside of the major shop, right, into a new session low. And so now we've kind of set up shop here between 960 and 950. And the way that they're marketing this right now is that they want to continue selling off, and they want to continue the exploration into lower prices. We had a supply response off of automation above 960, but we're still holding that same sequence to where we're dropping inventory, or maybe on the other side we'll raise supply, but we'll come right back inside of the range. So with all that said, it's a quick little breakdown. Appreciate everybody for coming through, and I hope you have a good rest of your session, the rest of your day, rest of the week. We'll see you on Friday. Trade it easy.